DeVille with Counterpunch Boxing News, and I am live this morning. Marlon, top of the morning to you. Marlon, Albert, I think he should fight 3 people he know he can beat, then retire. Albert, I'll get back to that. The water game, Wilder versus Joyce, Joyce versus Parker, maybe Joyce versus Jermaine Franklin. Dean, I think he should retire. Lone Wolf Crump. Retirement wouldn't be a bad idea. John Casserole versus Joe Joyce is an all right fight for Joe Joyce to try to get back to the top 15. Well, I say this. Albert, back to you. You know, he tried that. I mean, he wanted to fight Danny Dubois, then he wanted to fight Joseph Parker, or the winner of Joseph Parker and Danny Dubois. Because as you guys know, the days of reckoning, Joe Joyce probably could have been a part of that card if Zilly Zhang wouldn't have came, right? But Zilly Zhang wasn't a part of that card either. However, his whole plan was to fight Joseph Parker. But see, Joseph Parker didn't really have an opponent yet, because the original opponent for Joseph Parker was Danny Dubois. But Danny Dubois and his team, they didn't like the style. See what I mean? You know? Top of the morning, how you doing?
Get out your way.
Okay. Just a few fights for Joyce. Bill Keaveney in the building. Counterpunch to you. Skrilla 50. What's up, brother? Counterpunch to you. Mama Lou in the building.
Now, wait.
It's cloudy outside.
What do you want for breakfast?
Parker versus Joe Joyce rematch, then retire after he loses to Parker. Now, see, if he loses to Parker, let's say he gets hit by Parker and he can't take the punch by Parker. That means his chin is not anywhere where it used to be, so therefore he should retire. Because the main gift that Joe Joyce had was he could take shots, you know, and then he didn't get tired. So if his chin is not in the game, you know, maybe his stamina is still there. Because, I mean, he still went, 10 rounds with Derek Chisora? Was it 12? Joe Joyce versus Wilder. I mean, that fight could happen. Some fighters need saving from themselves. Hey, Bill, that's true. Because a lot of people don't know when to stop. I just thought about Arturo Gatti. Because they're claiming he killed himself. But I don't believe that. But for me, for that matter, I don't believe that Arturo Gotti killed himself, and I don't believe that Edwin Valedo killed his family. He belongs to the streets. Dang, that's harsh. But I mean, there's definitely fights for him to make. Ali being the classic example. I don't think anybody would have stopped Ali from doing anything. God of War in the building. What's up, brother? Counterpunch to you, man. Where you been? Oh, Isaac, no, Joe Joyce should not retire. When people ask questions like this, it's what stops boxers from fighting credible opposition. I think it's actually the opposite. When people start talking about other fighters retiring, or that's their opinion, I think it actually gives the fighters fights because when people start talking retirement, they start thinking that that fighter's lost a step. Any fighter that wants a good payday for less risk will want to fight someone that maybe should retire. You see what I mean? You're always streaming when I'm in bed. God of War, where you at? Joe Joyce needed a rebuild of three average guys after the Zhang fights before getting to face top 10. I think he needs to change his team. Yeah, but I don't think that, I don't think they care about Joe Joyce enough to do that. So you're in Germany, so I think you're 7 hours ahead. Because when I flew into Germany, I think I was 7 hours ahead, and I think you guys are an hour behind Istanbul. J. Roos Theory in the building. Kurt crunching. Yeah, man. Getting these dates and oats in my life. I'm a big fan of Joyce. I just feel sad when I see people advising him to retire. I really hope he comes back. Well, if he no longer can take the punches, what can you do? Yes, Joyce should retire. He's shot to pieces. James Jameson in the building. We're going to get out of a small crowd about Joe Joyce, but right now it's 50-50. I like Joe. He needs saving from himself. Joyce did an interview recently where he sounded scrambled. It made no sense. I'm eating Post Great Grains or Kellogg's Great Grains and an almond mixed up. Joy's selling point was the punishment he could take. If he can't do that, then he's not going to get big fights anymore. Yeah, he'll get big fights, and then he'll get knocked out. But But I see what you're saying. Nobody wants to pay for that if they know likely what he's going to do. You know, who do you feel Joyce should fight for a decent comeback? I mean, he could fight Jermaine Franklin. He could fight Charles Martin. He could fight guys like feed him for Jared Anderson. You know, if he's going to be a gatekeeper, I think the best thing to do, get Jared Anderson back in the mix because he's young. He has time. I just hope Jared Anderson reconsiders this 3-year plan. Because plans can be altered, and I think his plans were altered anyway. Yeah, Jermaine Franklin's a good fighter. I don't think he hits hard enough to bother him, but then again, I could be wrong. Because Jermaine Franklin hurt Dillian White. He hurt Dillian White with a shot. I feel sorry for Joe. Mismanagement and injury ruined his career. Hopefully he made enough to live happily. Hopefully he did. Joe Joyce is a guy who's kind of different. When he got out of high school, he went to China to train with the Shaolin monks at a monastery. So he definitely he's a definitely a different kind of cat. So we got 20 votes. Let's see here. So it's 60-40. He should. Okay. Joe took way too much punishment. Yeah, he did. He did take a lot of punches. But just people didn't review it as punishment because it's like the punches didn't bother him. You know what I mean? But then again, boxing is the art of not showing your emotion because you don't want your fighter to know how hurt you are or whatever or what affects you. So, he might have just been a good poker face, right? Joe, he started too late. I think Joe Joyce, he was doing all that other stuff. He was at the monastery. I don't know how long he was in China, but he was there for a minute, He got into boxing later on, He trains capoeira and, he's done more than just boxing. So his career of fighting has been long and vast, but boxing, not too much, Even though he's been around for a while, it's just, he was older than most guys. It's just like with Joe Joyce. Joe Joyce is 38, 39. So he was 4 or 5 years older than Joshua and them. Tyson Fury too. Joe Joyce didn't have the luxury of time to manage properly. The way is too old. He has made some money. Let him retire respectfully. Okay, let's see where we at. Okay, yeah. It's swaying. Yeah, but a lot of guys, you have to keep in mind too. What was the biggest puncher that Joe Joyce been in there with? Think about it. Like, how, Joseph Parker, he could punch, but Joe Joyce took those shots pretty easy. But, it ain't a Joshua hitting him or a Wilder or, and then when he got in there with Zhang, and Zhang can bang because his name is Big Bang, so Big Bang can Zhang. Bars. Didn't Joe hang out in the amateurs in 4 extra years? Yeah, he did. He should have went pro a long time ago. I'll tell you guys a story, though. Kenny Porter told me. Kenny Porter had a fighter that was fighting Joe Joyce. And Kenny was saying, oh, man, this big dude, he's slow. He ain't got no style. You know what I mean? He's sorry. And then Sam Jones, him, very opinionated. He came up, what do you see about my guy? What do you see about my guy? Hey, what do you say about my guy? Joe Joyce, he's going to annihilate your guy. Watch, I'll show you. Right? And Joe Joyce went out there and annihilated his guy. I told you. Yeah, man. Sam Jones, he's a pretty cool cat. He should retire or he'll end up like Kalnaki. Ooh, that's bad. Understand this, though. Kalnaki is Kalnaki. Kalnaki has lost 5 straight fights after his first loss. That's bad. So that man did a no sedive all the way down. Yep, Virgin. Yep, all the way down. He did a no set dive, a nose dive. He ain't went nowhere. At least Joyce has won one. You know what I'm saying? The only things Joyce had was durability and a good engine. Now he's lost his durability, and you can't make it with just an engine. Well, he didn't. He doesn't really have the punching power either. If he had like a niche, if he had a left hook to the body or a right uppercut or something like that, he would be feared to a certain degree. But he just was a guy that overall he had decent power, but then his stamina and durability, endurance and durability would be way over. Oh, way over. No, that could have been bad. To that part, Joyce, his hard. Joyce jab, his hard hits hard. They both can dodge a punch. Maybe Joyce can fight Ham Hock Miller. Miller. That wouldn't be a bad fight because Miller doesn't hit that hard either. So he's not known to be this power puncher. So yeah, that could work. I would love to see a fight like that because Miller's faster. Joyce is slower, but I think it's a lot of punches will be landed. Do you see a way for Dubois to beat Joshua? Yeah, knock him out. Bill Keevaney, knock out Joshua. That's how you beat Joshua. Knock him out. Or pull a Andy Ruiz, hurt him to the point where he's no longer, I just find it strange because I'm doing a video on this later. Eddie Hearn and Simon Jordan, they got into it again. So, I got to cover that. But Eddie's still acting like he doesn't know what happened to Anthony. Like, oh, well, what he was injured? Dude, you knew he was injured. He's just not letting the cat out of the bag. They have too much integrity for that. Daniel will get wiped out inside 6 rounds. Daniel Dubois, though, he is a young guy and he has something to prove. And nothing is more motivating than a person that has something to prove. Nothing is more dangerous. You have to keep that in mind. Daniel Dubois has something to gain and he has something to prove. He wants to keep that IBF belt. So he will be the champ that fights the winner. You know what I mean? So if he does what he needs to do, it'll be okay. Joshua can't lose. Everybody can lose. Anybody can lose except for Floyd Money Mayweather because he's retired. Floyd pound for pound #1, Duck Life, baby. TMT, hashtag the money team. Duck Life for life. I mean, I never duck. Yeah. Snoops, hey. No, I mean like he can't or his career is over. Well. Because I don't see anywhere else for him to go. I mean, I really don't. I don't see anywhere else for him to run to. Pretty Boy would beat Money. I don't know. Because, see, Floyd Mayweather, when he was Pretty Boy, he was more active. He got hit more. He got more knockouts. He was offensively sound, but he did get hit. So the thing is, Pretty Boy Floyd is officially never got knocked down, but he got knocked down by Zab Judah. And the question you ask yourself, did Floyd get better as he got older, meaning skill and wisdom wise? Because he was still a bad mother sucker. That guy was bad. You know what I mean? He was able to do what he did to Canelo at age 36. That's the same age as Terrence Crawford right now. And he did it at 36 and Canelo was 22. Did you guys hear Oscar De La Hoya on Club Shay Shay? I told Canelo, don't take the fight. You're not ready enough. You're not ready. Don't take the fight. He probably told him that because Oscar De La Hoya ended up in rehab, right? He wasn't even there for the fight. Floyd had, I mean, look, Canelo fighting Floyd put Oscar back in rehab. You imagine that? I can't stop. I can't stop. Not beating and being unbeatable is two different things. Not being beaten and being unbeatable. Absolutely. Absolutely. Yeah, man. Floyd put Oscar back in rehab, man. He couldn't take the pressure. And imagine you had a promoter on the biggest fighter of your life. Wasn't there because he was in rehab. Canelo talked about that, though. He had it was a video, it was a interview he did, he made like 3 years ago, which really, he just came all out with Oscar and start telling people like, look, this is how it was. I was loyal to Oscar. You know what I mean? I was faithful. All those other fighters, Wilder, Garcia, Errol Spence, all those guys left Golden Boy. Then he was explaining it. They left with Richard Shaver, and Richard Shaver joined Al Heyman, and Al Heyman became their advisor, right? So, Oscar Henao. Hey, Kurt, how you doing, man? Sorry, I'm late. Counterpunch to you. I think Joyce could be in a fight or two, but in a lower ranking maybe. I mean, he could always fight. I think a lot of these fighters, if they really just don't want to retire, I think what they could do and what they should do, honestly, is just fight lower ranks. You know what I mean? Lower ranks, lower purses. I mean, these purses could be anywhere from 20,000 to 75,000. You know what I mean? Things like that. I mean, if it's worth them doing. But what happens if you're used to getting, 500,000, 600,000, 800,000, a mil? If you're used to getting these fight purses, it's hard for you mentally to just humble yourself down to making $35,000 a fight, $85,000 a fight. You know what I mean? Listen, I was a corner man with a guy that he's called the New Orleans Bulldog, Gary Bergeron. If you guys look him up, Gary Bergeron. We was in his corner, and he went to Memphis because he didn't have any cornermen. He didn't have a trainer. So it was me and my buddy Barry, and we went over there, and we helped him in his corner. And he got $1,500. $1,500. And here's the weird thing. Gary didn't have license. He didn't have a registration. He didn't have insurance. So he drove from New Orleans to Memphis illegally, right? And then what he did, he fought this guy. I mean, he took a beating. Some hometown kid was just taking shots at poor Gary. You know what I mean? And the funniest thing ever, this is the funniest thing. Shout out to my brother Barry Hanley. Me and Barry were there, and we were hype men, like, come on, Gary, get him, Gary. So we're watching Gary just get beat up like Rocky Balboa. Right? He's getting, the dude's just tearing him apart. And Barry goes, it's weird, because like we're in the front. So then you had another row on coming, like to the side of us diagonal. So we were in the front. And Barry says, Gary, he can't hurt you, Gary. Get him, Gary, get him. And then his mom was sitting in that diagonal corner in the front. And she says, yes, he can. It was hilarious because when she said, yes, he can, the crowd went berserk. They all started laughing. And that kid just... And they didn't stop it. I mean, it was just crazy, Hey, Counter, big respect for your grind. You don't get your flowers, brother. Appreciate you, man. Appreciate you. I'll get them one day. I'll get them and smell them and put them in a vase, I'd like to see Moses and Fisher to jump a few levels. Yeah, I mean, but I seen, and this is what I feel about Frank Warren in regards to Joe Joyce. I think I think he's never really respected Joe Joyce. I always think that he gave Joe like the cold shoulder. He never really pushed Joe Joyce. He didn't believe in Joe Joyce, and that's that. You know. Hold on a second. Okay. Jab the like people lean into it like Larry Holmes. James Jameson, appreciate you, brother. Parker would take Atoma to school. Um, if that happened, would we be surprised if he did? You know what I mean? I like Moses Atoma, yeah, I know, and all like Moses Atoma, just keep fighting. You know, all that elevation is not necessary for someone that young. You know, everybody wants to be Mike. Everybody wants to break a record, but understand, Mike Tyson was Mike Tyson. You know, so yeah, bad management and injuries. Joe should call out fish eyes for all the marbles. Well, but you know, it was him. You know, I mean, he was very much interested in promoting guys like Dubois because Dubois still is like, how long has Dubois been around since he was like 19, 20 years old? Danny Dubois has been fighting for how long? He's been fighting what since 2018? So what 6 years? So what since he was 19, 20? So yeah, Joyce would beat Fisher 100%. I think Joyce could do whatever Joyce wanted to do. That's what I feel. I think he should, do what he feels. And he ain't trying to retire. But I do think, the fight he did had with Derek Chisora, it wasn't terribly bad. I mean, a lot of people, had him winning. Patrick Dixon, what's up, brother? Counter punch to you in the building. But it wasn't a knockout. I mean, he got dropped, and then that raised a lot of eyebrows because it's the Juggernaut, right? The Juggernaut is a guy that can take anything. He didn't take that Great Wall of China, did he? Dubois had years left in him. Joyce was so old, he had to be fast tracked. Well, I mean, look at his record. Does he have 20 fights? Does Joe Joyce have 20 fights? How many fights does Joe Joyce have? He doesn't have many. I think he's like 15-2 at 14, I believe. I could be mistaken. Let's look up Joe Joyce here. Let's look him up. He got knocked down. That could arguably been a knockout. Really? I didn't know it was that bad. I seen him go down. You guys remember I was at work doing the live stream. you know? Okay, here we go. Joe Joyce. Okay. I'm looking up Joe Joyce here. His record is no, he's 16-3 with 15 KOs. So, three losses, 16 wins. So he hasn't even had, he hasn't even had what, three? He's had 19 fights total. So he hasn't even had 20 professional fights. So yeah, he was fast tracked. But I mean, it's your decision, though. It's your decision to retire or not, and it's also your decision to stay in the amateurs or go to the pros. So Joe Joyce didn't really, he didn't, I mean, he probably could have, honestly, left the pros. But the same thing people say about Joe Joyce, I mean, they say the same thing about Lomachenko. Like Floyd mentioned that about Lomachenko. Nobody told Lomachenko to stay in the amateurs. Nobody told him to stay in the amateurs that long. Loma's getting old, tanks the future. That's it. That's all. So please, can you tell me why everyone is after AJ to fight him? Well, he's the second highest paid boxer in the sport of boxing, behind Canelo. Anytime you fight Anthony Joshua, and it's been that way for a very long time, ask Charles Martin. Anytime you fight Anthony Joshua, you will become a millionaire. Imagine that. Anybody you fight, Floyd was like that, Canelo, you know. But those cash cows, everybody wants the cash cow. Okay, look at it like this. If you're a fighter and you understand what it's like to be punched, damaged, hurt, injured, knocked down, knocked out, and you're a fighter and your record is 26-4, two draws, and 19 knockouts. Okay, exciting fighter. But then you get an opportunity to fight Canelo for $3 million, or fight this other guy that may be better than you for 100,000. Think about this. How many of those tough fights that you have to fight? 10 of them? Well, not even 10. 100,000 times 10, that's $1 million. Okay, so $1 million, and he's offering you $3 million. Think about it. If you fight 10 of those guys at $100,000 a piece, that's a lot of damage. That's a lot of people. That's a lot of time, right? Versus fight Canelo Alvarez for $3 million, or fight AJ for what? $5 million. Versus fighting this other guy for 100,000, 50,000. It's not even comparable. Yes, you're going to jump on that because listen, this is a opportunity of a lifetime. I got the big fight against the best fighter, or the cash cow. So if I could beat him and do what Andy Ruiz did, which he's truly blessed, people. Andy Ruiz is blessed beyond belief. He may not ever do anything again. He may not ever fight anybody worth anything again. I think Turki Al-Sheikh will give him an opportunity, though. Really. But I don't think that's the case at all. I think Andy Ruiz, he knows his Titanic has already said, came and went. He knows that. How do they measure how a fighter should pay his opponent? Based on the marketability, based on if that fighter is a champion or not. A lot of people sell their belt to the cash cow. Look at Charles Martin. Again, Charles Martin wasn't making that type of money. He didn't make that type of money. I think he made, $8 million? I think he made $8 million to fight AJ, or $6 million. I think it was 8 or 6 million to fight Anthony Joshua in the UK. So basically, he sold his IBF belt. He got knocked out in the second round. But he technically knew I wasn't going to beat this guy. Then, and AJ just dismantled him, dodged the jab and countered with the right hand. It was over with. Beautiful timing. Beautiful timing. That's why I did not understand, why Joshua had such a hard time with Usyk. And it just shows you why Usyk is an all-time great fighter. He was that difficult, that skilled, his ring IQ was, it was just he was just too difficult for Joshua. Ruiz's heart isn't in it, but his stomach is. His stomach is out out of it. It's clout. Nah, man, seriously. But no, Joe Joyce, man, I mean, he can get fights. I just think It depends on what his choices are, because what I can tell you is Frank Warren, he's going to throw him in there with anybody that he knows that can beat him. Yeah, give him to Joe Joyce. Joe Joyce can fight him. Yeah, Joe Joyce will give him a good go. I don't think Joyce is going to win, but that's the point. Get Joe Joyce in there. Get him in there like a crash dummy. Joe the crash dummy Joyce. Yeah, call Sam Jones up and tell him to come here. We'll make a meeting with him Monday morning. Crash dummy. I'm calling him now. Yeah. You can't use your head to defend. I feel what Usyk did to Dubois and Hrgovic wasn't fair. He knew he was going to get stripped. He should have just given up the belt earlier so Dubois would have won it in the ring. Oh, Isaac, he did. He won it in the ring. He beat Hrgovic. Hrgovic was in the position to fight for the mandatory on the IBF. Hrgovic gets beat. It don't matter what they decided to do or what Usyk decided to do. That was going to ultimately go to the man that got beat, so the man that beat him got it. Danny Dubois got the IBF belt. End of story. That fight he earned, because yeah, it could have been for that. It just wasn't for that. They just did it after the fact. Okay? But Danny Dubois, yes, he took a lot of punishment and he took a lot of punches from Philip Hrgovic and vice versa for Hrgovic. Okay? So it is what it is. Tyrone Swaby, what's up, brother? Hi, Kurt. What time is it over there? It is 10:41. There is nothing wrong with having a long amateur. You just you cannot have a lot of fights for a long period of time in the amateurs and expect you should be the top 5-10 guy in the professionals. The way AJ and Hearn looked at each other when Frank said Triple D was Usyk's toughest fight was pure gold. Yeah, it was, dude. It was gold, and then, but see, it was subtle, and it was almost like Joshua couldn't hold it. Joshua like this. Eddie was, Eddie got that like look where he's gonna look like he's trying, like he's gonna smile, but he didn't, but he really wants to. Aaron Army, let's go, champ. Every time I hear that, I think of Shannon the Cannon. Listen, let me tell you something. Shannon the Cannon had this video game because, he was making a comeback. He had this video game on the App Store or the Play Store, and it was called Let's Go Champ, where he just jumped and, you know what I mean? And you jumped over stuff and then if you got these little deals, your hands will throw and you can knock people out. Dude, it was fun, bro. It was fun. And they took it off. Yeah, they wanted to laugh. They wanted to laugh, bro. Joyce versus Ortiz. Worth a watch. I think he could beat Joe. I think he could beat Luis Ortiz now. But then again, here's the deal. Luis Ortiz can punch. You better ask Charles Martin. Look what he did to Charles Martin. Charles thought he had him, bro. Martin thought he had him. He was just like, you know what? I got him. And then all of nowhere, Luis Ortiz threw one of them overhand punches from Guantanamo, Cuba. Okay? Los golpes más por él. Joyce versus White. I would see that. I would watch that fight because Derek Chisora and White had a rivalry. White, you know what I mean? That would be another mutual opponent. Why not? Why not Dillian White versus Joe Joyce? I mean, before Zhang upset Joe Joyce, that was going to be Dillian White's fight, right? You guys do know that. He was there at that fight. It just makes me sick, man. It's just surprising, man. I'm upset, man. I want to fight, I want to fight Joyce, he gets knocked out by the Chinaman, man. So, no, man. See, man. I want to fight him, man. White wins that fight. I think White wins. I think White wins by knockout. I think when, White comes in that left, boom! If he catches Joe Joyce, he'll knock him out. Feed White to Zhang. And that'll be a good fight. I would love to see Dillian White versus Big Bang Zhang too. Why not? Evelyn, Road Media, you have to it to Frank. He might not have a lot of good fighters, but he can definitely get the title shots. I mean, Triple D could have easily been ignored and finished after Usyk. He did quit. He did quit on Joyce. Yeah, he did. You know, and Joyce stayed undefeated longer than Daniel Dubois did. You know, but everybody gets it, I think, you know. Some people sometimes, like Floyd, Money Mayweather, Andre Ward, Calzaghe, you know, Joe Calzaghe, Rocky Marciano, of course. You know, those guys like that. Some people never get defeated. Ike Barabucci, Dmitry Pitrug. You know, there's some people just never get defeated. They'll never know what it's like to be defeated, you know. Kurt, you mean. Zhang retires White in that fight with a broken chin from an uppercut. Better Biev. Yeah, Better Biev is, man. I've been watching Better Biev, man. I still got Better Biev. I don't care, you know. I think there's a reason why he got surgery, because he needed it. You know, if anything, I think it helps. If anything, I think it helps. You know? Okay, let's look at the votes. We got 84 votes. And yes, 58% of you guys think that Joe Joyce should retire, compared to the 42% that think he shouldn't. However, that's still a pretty good, you know, ratio of a lot of the people that think that Joe Joyce should keep going. So 42% of you guys, you know, have already spoken, right, in defense of Joe Joyce. That's a real fighter. Shame he had to retire. Yeah, he had some kind of back injury. And I'm like, what happened to this dude? I would love someone to sit down. I don't know what he's doing right now. And in fact, he became a politician. So he's for Russia. He's a politician in Russia. So I don't know what he's doing. You know? Big chef in the building. Yeah, we got 3 more minutes, guys. I'm going to go live later on today, though. So stay tuned to that. Greasy Burger Miller versus Zhang. I'd give it to Zhang. Simply because Miller may have better stamina, but I don't know if he can take those shots like that. Evelyn Road Media. Brasil. Fala português. I think there is a lot of hate and jealousy on AJ. Everyone wants to fight him. No, I don't think they hate him. I think they want to get paid. They don't hate him. They say, I want you to pay him. Wilder versus White, both would be motivated. Yeah, I think so. El Gallo Negro. El Gallo Negro. The Black Rooster ese. Miller hates AJ. Yeah, he does. I don't know what AJ did to him. I don't know if AJ, you know, slept with one of his women or something, because we know Jarrell Miller allegedly, you know, got with Taylor Swift. I got a Taylor Swift video coming soon, guys, too. Okay, we got 1 minute. I predict AJ to KO Dubois. Ben Davison is what he needed. Okay, out of 90 votes, we have 57% that feel Joe Joyce should retire versus 43% saying that he should not. So there you go, guys. There's the vote. I'm going to continue the rest of my breakfast because the cereal was just an appetizer. But you guys be blessed. Stay tuned for some more content today and another live stream. And everyone has been counterpunched. Peace.